Welcome to Real Leaders with Roshini, the podcast with real talk, real questions, real insight, and we hope real inspiration for real. I'm thrilled to welcome you to Season 2. We meet even more inspiring leaders who get real in all parts of their lives. You can find Real Leaders with Roshini on the radio.com app, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Google Play. My guest today is Pilar Gerasimo. She is the author of The Healthy Deviant and the co-host of a very special podcast, which I will have her tell you all about. Pilar, it is so great to have you here today.
Thanks so much, Roshini. I always love being with you.
Well, in your honor, I wore my Healthy Deviant t-shirt that you brought me a few years ago when you were first writing the book and you came on my radio show. Now the book is finalized. It's done. It's out there. And what has the reaction been to it?
It's been so exciting. Actually, a lot of people want the t-shirt that you have on, which is really nice. You know, when I first was pitching this book to publishers, a lot of them told me, look, that title is very negative. No one's going to want to buy the book. No one's going to want to call themselves a healthy deviant. Wow, were they wrong? Turns out there's a whole bunch of healthy deviants out there, and they've been buying the book and loving it and relating to it. So thank you for being among the first to help me tell the story of the book before it was even out. And yeah, it launched on January 7th. It's been out there a couple months. It's doing really well.
Let's get into what a healthy deviant is, because even that title is kind of provocative.
Yeah. The term deviant is widely perceived as a negative term in our culture, but it really just means somebody who's not complying with the norms and kind of conventional popular behaviors of their society. So the thing is that right now we live in a society that is very good at producing unhealthy, unhappy people and not so good at producing healthy, happy ones. Weird statistic that I probably shared with you before, but a lot of people have their minds blown by it. 97.3% of US adults are not capable of managing even 4 basic healthy behaviors on a daily basis. So we're living in a society right now where if you choose to be healthy, you're going against all of those norms that are producing those unhealthy results. You effectively have to be a kind of renegade freak or an outlier to be a healthy person. So the book, the title, The Healthy Deviant, is really reflecting that for people who want to be healthy and happy in an unhealthy world, you have to do things differently than everyone else. You can't go along with what I call the crazy that passes for normal and still expect to be healthy. So the book explains how to do that.
All right, let's talk a little bit about some of those tips, because you do have some very good ones. And, you know, from just understanding that the term deviant in your situation isn't about anything negative, but it's actually about saving yourself and being more healthy. You talk about a morning minutes practice, which I think is fascinating. And I think it seems it's just so practical, but not enough people do it.
Yeah, and there's a reason that we don't do it. So the idea behind the morning minutes practice, which is just one of 3 renegade rituals that I suggest in the book, is that when you wake up, your brain is in a state called theta state. It's a brainwave state, kind of like delta or beta. But theta state thinking is sort of in between conscious and unconscious. It's the time where your mind is the most vulnerable, but also the most impressionable in a good way, which means it's a great time to set intentions or envision how you want your day to go. But a lot of people wake up and the first thing that they do is what? Reach for their cell phone, and all the bleeps and the bings and the alerts and the bad news, right? Scary news about pandemics and wars and things flood into your brain, and it's at its most vulnerable moment. So you're already in reaction to the mass culture before you've even woken up. The 3-minute morning practice is my way of suggesting that people take control of autonomy from the very moment they wake up. When you wake up and you take 3 minutes to, say, light a candle, just like come to your waking state gradually, maybe read something pleasant like poetry or wisdom literature, or make a list of how you want your day to go, you are taking a responsible position for how you want to show up in a world that, if you don't take that conscious maneuver, will grab your subconscious and your conscious mind and twist you into knots. And I think for folks who are trying to make healthy decisions on a daily basis, claiming the first 3 or 4 minutes of your day for yourself is a really great way to start out on the right foot. One of the points that I make in the book, and the reason that I offer these kinds of interventions, is that our culture has brainwashed us into thinking that the only things we can do for our health are diet and exercise. And in fact, it turns out that these sort of mindfulness interventions are often more effective for people and much easier places to start.
Your past really led you to your present. You're the founding editor of Experience Life magazine, which is a publication out of Lifetime. You also are the co-host of the Living Experiment podcast, but you've been a social explorer and a health journalist for decades. Why this and why now?
Well, in some ways, I feel like most of the work I've done with Experience Life, and for sure the work I've done with Living Experiment podcast, have been about waking people up to the fact that the way that we are told to be healthy and happy people typically do not work for people. And it's partially because, in my own experience as a healthy deviant, as someone who's been a health seeker for all of that time, in addition to professionally researching it, my personal experience told me that the diets and exercises, the powders and the pills, the things that were supposed to be magic bullets and solve all my problems really didn't work for me. I had to begin at a different place. Where we are right now in our culture is a place where 50% of U.S. adults are chronically ill, 70% are dependent on prescription drugs, and 80% of people are not thriving mentally and emotionally. If we don't change the way we're doing things, we're going to just continue to get worse. So for me, this book was the product of about 25 years of journalistic research, but also close to a half of a century of personal life experience of learning things the hard way. Now I'm very fortunate in feeling like a pretty sustainably healthy, happy person most of the time, but I don't want it to be this hard for other people. And in a world that's producing this unhealthy, unhappy result, I want folks to have another place to begin and really regain their hope and their sense of purpose and their sense of possibility that health and happiness really can be within reach for them.
Yeah, because there are a lot of stereotypes as well as just media images and headlines always bombarding people. It probably helps that you live on an organic family farm in Wisconsin to keep this healthy outlook.
It does. And now that I'm choosing to live there as an adult, it's a wonderful place to be. But I have to tell you, Roshini, when I grew up there on the farm, it was a very weird place to grow up, and not fitting in with my schoolmates and not being seen as a person who was going along with what looked like a successful plan for my life was a very difficult experience. And I think it informed a lot of the reason I wrote this book. For those of us who choose to live a different way, there are a lot of social barriers to doing that. People judge you, they make fun of you, they tell you you're crazy. And I think that while now living on this organic family farm is a great support system for me, when I was a little kid and an adolescent, I did not want to be on an organic, funky farm. I wanted to be living the normal life that everyone else was living. What I found, though, was that the more I tried to comply with the messages that were telling me to be a certain way and to act a certain way and look a certain way, the less healthy and happy I got. So part of the reason I choose to live on the farm now is that it's an easy place to grow more of my own food. It's a great way to be surrounded by supportive community. It's a great way to be able to get out in nature easily and take walks with my dog every day. Those are things that help me stay healthy and happy. But you don't have to live on an organic farm or out into the middle of nowhere to live a healthy, happy life. And this book is really intended to help people figure out how they can do that wherever they're living, whatever they're doing, whatever their circumstances are today.
And Pilar, it's interesting because you get into the very rhythm of the day. And I hope I'm pronouncing this right, the Ultradian Rhythm. Tell us what that is about and how we can structure our days to really maximize.
I'm so glad you asked me that because ultradian rhythms are a passion of mine. So you know how we have a circadian rhythm? Every 24 hours, we go through cycles of light and dark, waking and sleeping. Our circadian rhythms, we know when those get messed up by international travel or staying up all night, we really feel the results in our body. We're depleted, we get lowered immunity, we often are more likely to get sick, which is important right now with coronaviruses going everywhere. What we're not taught is that our body has a smaller cycle of rhythm that goes throughout the day, this ultradian rhythm, ultra meaning many, and day, tradian, dia. So many times throughout the day, your body goes through the same cycle of high energy and low energy, but in a mini form. Every hour and a half to 2 hours, your energy goes up and then it goes down. What's fascinating about this is that all of the time we think we're being so productive and getting things done, you can do that for about an hour and a half before your body starts to build up the byproducts of all that productivity. You build up metabolic waste, neurosynaptic snippets, all sorts of unprocessed pollution, basically. And when your body starts to feel polluted, it starts to feel fatigued and tired. So if you take a break when you start to feel fatigued, you're giving your body an opportunity, just like sleeping at night, think of it as a mini sleep, to come back and build up and rebalance itself. And then you get this amazing new input of energy. But when we don't take those breaks, we just get more and more fatigued as the day goes on. We also get more inflamed, and we start to feel more frustrated and moody and depressed and crazy. So in my book, I describe the Ultradian rhythms, the breaks that you can take every hour and a half to 2 hours for about 20 minutes if you possibly can, but even a little bit is better than nothing.
And a break doesn't have to necessarily mean a nap.
No, in an ideal world, you would actually lie down flat and see if you could take a nap. But you can also just get up and push away from your work, walk around, get to a different environment, go outside for a few minutes, or doing some deep breathing or meditation, or just even a pleasant social interaction can be enough to kind of give your mind a mental rest from high focus, high intensity demands. And your body too. Your body, if you've been sitting, wants to get up and move around. If you've been standing, it wants to sit down or lie down and relax.
How do you keep yourself fueled? Because you're doing a lot of things. You're also advocating that people live healthier lives and be these healthy deviants. But how do you really stay charged?
Well, I follow a lot of my own advice, and the book is really full of the things that I have found actually work. There isn't a specific diet that I think people need to follow, but I do eat mostly whole foods most of the time, and I eat what's appealing to me. More protein when I'm feeling like that's appealing, less when I'm feeling less. But by seasons, it changes too. So I don't eat the same thing every day or every season. But I do eat whole foods most of the time, and that is a huge difference in terms of weight management, managing inflammation, making sure my energy is good, and helping me think clearly. Lots of healthy fats, for example, lots of anti-inflammatory vegetables. But I'm an omnivore. I don't think you have to be a vegan or a vegetarian to be a healthy person. In fact, I think for most people, eating all sorts of whole foods, plant and vegetable and mineral types of foods, mineral-rich foods like vegetables and grains, can be healthy. So for me, I don't eat a ton of grains, and that works really well for my metabolism. But for other people, it might be different. So food is huge, getting enough sleep, obviously, all the things we know, moving around. I'll tell you one thing, though. When I was working on the book, I pretty much gave up my focused workouts in favor of getting this thing done. But I did keep walking every day, 3 or 4 times with my dog. I did keep stretching. I did a little yoga here and there. And my body stuck with me through 2 years of working on this thing. Now I've gone back to working out, and I feel amazing. But you have to maintain a high level of health and vitality in order for your body to get you through difficult times of stress. And I think for folks dealing now with like pandemics and all kinds of crazy world news, I always like to emphasize a high vitality, high energy, high resilience person always stands a better chance of getting through periods of high stress than a person who's already depleted and distracted. So my daily practices make a huge difference for me.
And that's, what I want to wind down with is that daily. I think people think of the big picture and what's at the end of the tunnel or the rainbow, but it's really a day-to-day thing.
It absolutely is. And I think that it is the small things sometimes that make the biggest difference. The reason that my renegade rituals in this book are not dietary and exercise interventions is that I think for so many people, they feel like that's where they have to start. And they have the experiencing of trying and failing in these intense programs they're going to do for 2 weeks or for a month or 3 months. And I really think finding things that you can do sustainably that are small steps works a whole lot better for more people.
Well, Pilar, good luck to you as you really push this healthy deviance movement out there. I'll keep wearing my t-shirt, and I know that you are just inspiring so many people.
Thank you so much. And for folks who are interested in Healthy Deviant stickers, I'm offering to send a free one to folks who send me a self-addressed stamped envelope. So I'll put that information up if you want to share it. You can. Otherwise, they can find it at the Healthy Deviant Facebook group.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Pilar. Until next time, keep it real.